Say you're in charge of managing the impact of tariffs on business for a large global cell phone manufacturer. Like many others, you're facing the impact of rising tariffs and uncertainty about what's coming next. To know how to respond in the short term, but also how to anticipate and plan for the medium and long term, you need to simulate the impact of these new tariffs. So you use a digital twin of your supply chain as we see here. Most of your production is based in Asia, with key sites like Chennai and Chongqing serving markets around the world, including the US. Here is a flow map of your global supply chain with color-coded transport routes by type. For example, there's a direct route from Chongqing to Chicago, a typical flow that's often impacted first by tariff increases. These are exactly the kind of routes you may want to reconsider as part of a tariff engineering strategy. In this demo, we'll show how you can test alternate routes, like going through Rotterdam and then Mexico, to reduce custom fees and fully understand the impact of your strategy on your key performance indicators, total costs, service levels, and margins. Here's another way to view your supply chain, showing the full end-to-end flow. On the top, you can see suppliers and part production, like motherboards and batteries, followed by final assembly and warehousing, and delivery to demand points at the bottom. Now that your supply chain is configured, you can begin testing different scenarios to assess the impact of tariff increases and explore mitigation strategies. We start with the baseline showing current performance over 12 months with no tariff changes. Next, we simulate a two-wave tariff increase applied at different rates. Then we add uncertainty with a plus or minus 40% variation, another with plus or minus 150%. This helps us understand how performance can fluctuate under different conditions. Finally, we test a tariff engineering strategy, rerouting shipments through the Netherlands and Mexico instead of directly from China to the US. You take your current supply chain strategy and you simulate a baseline scenario as it operates today without any new tariff increases. You apply only the existing custom fees currently paid by your business. What do you see? You get a clear view of your projected service levels for the coming years. You can also see financial indicators including gross margin and total cost, as well as detailed cost breakdowns. Notably, custom fees currently represent about 4% of your total operating costs. Next, you simulate the new tariff increase to see its full impact over a full year on your business. Here you can see updated parameters that you've changed for the tariffs based on type of goods, origin, and destination. Where your ability to meet demand stays the same, there is a significant impact on financial performance. For example, custom fees now account for about 6% of your operating costs, which directly affects both your overall cost structure and your gross margin. And the story doesn't end there, because while these are today's tariffs, you don't know what changes might happen in the next weeks or months ahead. What is important to understand the impact of uncertainty itself on your supply chain. To go further, you run simulations to see how your supply chain performs under different assumptions, to help you understand the range of possible outcomes and how sensitive your KPIs are to tariff changes. So when you run an uncertainty analysis, the supply chain digital twin automatically runs thousands of simulations to show the statistical impact on your key performance indicators like cost, margin, and service levels. And since you don't know exactly what will happen, you run several uncertainty analyses, each using a different set of assumptions. Here you can see an example of the input data you've modified, starting with 2 simulated waves of tariff increases applied to your supply chain. When you launch the uncertainty analysis, the system automatically runs thousands of simulations to explore the full range of possible outcomes. You can also monitor your key KPIs. So as tariffs increase, total operating costs go up, especially assembly costs, depending on your sourcing strategy. When you add uncertainty, those costs vary even more, potentially changing how you manage your supply chain. Now we want to identify the best mitigation strategy, one that reduces custom fees and evaluates the full impact of new sourcing paths. If we look at the final scenario comparison, the tariff minimization strategy clearly delivers the best profit overall. It significantly reduces custom fees, although it does introduce some additional assembly costs from routing through new hubs, but it slightly impacts transport costs in a positive way. One less obvious effect is on service levels. The new routes are longer, which means longer lead times. So if demand suddenly exceeds forecast, your ability to respond drops, potentially affecting deliveries and revenue. Still, when you consider all trade-offs, this remains the most profitable strategy and a great example of how AI simulation helps complex tariff challenges with confidence.